Hello everybody. Our third sequence is the geometric sequence, and you also heard about it as the exponential sequence. Now what distinguishes the geometric sequence from any other sequence is that it has a constant ratio. Ratio means you divide something. So we divide term 2 by term 1 and term 3 by term 2, and you get the same answer. That means it's a constant ratio. Again, we have a general term formula. Tn equals A times R to the power of n minus 1. You have to know this formula. What does that mean? Tn is our nth term. A is our first term. R is the ratio, the constant ratio. And n is the number of terms in this sequence. Let's look at our first example of the geometric sequence on page 2. They say we have a sequence of minus 2, minus 4, minus 8 up until minus 64. Now let us quickly get the ratio. So it's term 2 divided by term 1, and minus 4 divided by minus 2 is 2. The next ratio is minus 8 divided by minus 4, and that also gives us 2. You can see in this example that the ratio is constant because we have the same answer every time. Constant ratio. Therefore, it's a geometrical sequence. And our R is 2. When we look at example A on your notes, it's the same sequence. We already know that our R, our ratio, is 2. Now they want to know how many terms are in this sequence if the last term's value is minus 64. We already know that A, our first term, is minus 2. We know that the ratio is 2. We also know that term Tn equals minus 64. So the last term is minus 64. But we want to know how many terms are there, so we actually want to know what is n's value. We have a constant ratio, therefore it's a geometrical sequence. So we use our geometrical sequences formula. It's A times R to the power of n minus 1. Tn is minus 64. A equals minus 2. And R is 2 to the power of n minus 1. Now you have an exponential equation. With the exponential laws, remember you can't multiply bases with each other. So we first need to get rid of this minus 2. We're going to divide here with minus 2. What you do on the one side, you must do on the other side as well. So the minus 2's cancel out. And on this side you get 32 equals 2 to the power of n minus 1. Now if you remember the exponential laws, Here we have a base of 2, so we need to put 32 also as a number with a base of 2. And 2 to the power of 5 will give you 32. That side stays the same. When you have two bases that are the same, you can set their exponents equal to each other. So 5 will be equal to n minus 1, and now we can get n alone. So n, take the minus 1 over, will be 6. N equals 6. Therefore, how many terms in the sequence? 6 terms. In example B, we take the same sequence with the same ratio, and we can also ask you to determine the 5th term. Now remember, if they give you how many terms you need to work out, that represents our n. So T5, we want his value, but the n is 5. Again, we know that we are working with a geometric sequence because we have a general ratio which is constant. So we use our geometrical sequences formula, a times r to the power of n minus 1. We want to work with T5, so n is 5, a is minus 2, our r is 2, and we substitute everything in. A is minus 2, r is 2 to the power of n we know is 5 minus 1. Now it's a common equation, minus 2 times 2 to the power of 4. So it's minus 2 times 16. And minus 2 times 16 will give you minus 32. Therefore, term 5 has a value of negative 32. In the next example, I state that we have a geometrical sequence, x, 2x plus 2, and 3x plus 3. And the question is, calculate term 4. So you need to work out the 4th term, this one. In order to do that, we have a few intermediate steps. We first need to work out what x is. And when we know what x is, we can substitute x in there to get our term values or get the sequence. And once we have the sequence, we can calculate term 4. We know that we are working with a geometrical sequence because there is a constant ratio in a geometrical sequence. We can use this ratio formula. So we are going to take term 2, which is 2x plus 2, and we're going to divide it with term 1, which is x, and that will be equal to term 3, 3x plus 3, divide by term 2, 2x plus 2. We have x's in the numerators and the denominators. So the easiest way to calculate x will be to cross multiply. But the numerator has two terms and the denominator in this case has two terms, so we need to put these in brackets when we multiply. This bracket times that bracket will be 2x plus 2 times 2x plus 2 equals the denominator times the numerator x times 3x plus 3. Now it's a normal multiplication of brackets. This will give you 4x squared plus 8x plus 4 equals 3x squared plus 3x. I immediately can see that this is a quadratic equation, so get all the terms to one side equals 0. So let's take these over the equal sign. 4x squared minus 3x squared gives me x squared. 8x minus 3x gives me plus 5x. Plus 4 equals 0. And now we factorize because we want to work out x. This will give you x times x and 4 times 1 plus 4 plus 1. This means that x will be equal to minus 4 or x will be equal to minus 1. Now since we have two x values, we will get two sequences. And we need to see which one of those two is a geometrical sequence. So let's take the x minus 4 equals minus 4 and we substitute it into our terms. We have x, 2x plus 2 and 3x plus 3. If you substitute minus 4 in there, you get minus 4. Minus 4 times 2 is minus 8, plus 2 is minus 6. Minus 4 times 3 is minus 12, plus 3 is minus 9. They told us it is a geometrical sequence, so to get our ratio, it's minus 6 divided by minus 4, and that will give us 3 over 2. In this case, it will be minus 9 divided by minus 6, and that will give you 3 over 2. So our ratio is 3 over 2 in this case. If you substitute the minus 1 into x, 2x plus 2 and 3x plus 3, minus 1 will be our first term. Minus 1 times 2 is minus 2. Minus 2 plus 2 is 0. Minus 1 times 3 is minus 3. Minus 3 plus 3 is 0. Now let's get our ratios. 0 divided by minus 1 is 0. 0 divided by 0 is undefined. Therefore, it can't be minus 1. X can't be minus 1. It has to be minus 4. So, if x is minus 4, we have our sequence of minus 4, minus 6, minus 9. And our ratio is 3 over 2. Now we can calculate our fourth term. To calculate the fourth term, you can do it in two ways. Remember, to get from the first term to the second term, you have to multiply it with the ratio. So let's do this one. Minus 4 times the ratio will give you minus 6. And minus 6 times the ratio will give you minus 9. So, to get the fourth term, we have to take minus 9 times the ratio, and then you get minus 27 over 2. So, term 4 will be minus 27 over 2. Or, we use our formula. We want term 4, we use the general formula, 4 minus 1. We know the first term's value is minus 4. We know or the ratio is 3 over 2. And 4 minus 1 is 3. So in this case I have minus 4 over 1 times 3 to the power of 3 is 27 over 2 to the power of 3 is 8. And if you calculate that, you also get minus 27 over 2.